You're listening to Brave Girls with Tracy M., where we choose to empower you to be a better leader, mentor, and coach in the world. We'll share stories of people who have achieved great heights by overcoming adversity and rising to the challenge, all while pursuing their passions. These courageous people will inspire you to have faith in yourself and take bold action. Right here with the host of Brave Girls, Tracy M.
Episode 53, Everybody Matters with Linda Duyle. Meet my colleague, Linda Duyle, a powerful, brave girl that I've had the honor of knowing and learning from for decades. A child of entrepreneurs, Linda grew up learning business practices from a very young age, and she truly believes that everybody matters. Trained as a journalist, she found her way into corporate communications and public relations for Drew University, where she literally caught the bug. Her energy is palpable and her career epic. She's now living in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts, mentoring and teaching the next generation what it means to be a leader in the world today. An advocate for lifelong learning, Linda shares her favorite ways to learn, grow, and contribute to the world. I first met Linda right when she launched her own firm and was consulting to some of the world's largest companies like Rolls Royce, GE, and Lockheed Martin on topics like transformation, change management, and human dynamics. Her understanding of data, metrics, quality, and operations led her to create programs that really focused employees on what needed to get done. She shares all the lessons she learned as a female leader in the corporate space and what she's here to teach others. Her newest venture, the Duyle Leadership Experience, focuses on training the next generation as they transition into the workforce and step into positions of leadership. The program was incubated at Syracuse University and fills a learning gap on networking, building trust, business ethics, and so much more. Close to 500 alumni have completed the program, and it was recently transitioned to an offering that any young professional across the nation can participate in. Linda has truly created a community for young professionals under 40 that are looking for coaching on career management so they can learn how to own their career and refine their communication skills. She runs Gen Now, which is an immersive 3-day retreat, and the next one is slated for November 1st to 3rd in the Berkshires, and you can apply online. She also hosts a monthly forum and other activities for her participants that encourage them to truly own their career, engage with their community through nonprofit boards, and to learn new skills. I love what Linda shares about her brave moves and where that has taken her on her life's journey and what has come her way as a result. So meet my friend Linda Duyle, who believes everybody matters. So welcome to Brave Girls with Tracy M. Today I have my PR colleague, Linda Duyle, with me, who's the president and founder of her own company as well as leadership experience. And she has had a very storied career in corporate for some major global brands. And when I first met her, she had gone out on her own, and she's done so much since then. So welcome to the show, Linda.
Great to be here. Excited to be part of your program, and kudos to you for keeping it going.
Yes. So I want to start off a little bit with your backstory, because I know that you've got this incredible wealth of knowledge in the area of corporate communications as well as employee engagement. So, and I could rattle off the names of all these big brands that you've done business with or for, as an employee, as an outsider. So talk a little bit about how you got to that point of getting into the business of corporate communications.
Well, I think I have to precede my corporate communications career with my first job out of college, which was a daily newspaper reporter in the Philadelphia area. And really, I graduated from college with a headset focused on journalism, had no clue about corporate communications. Didn't know about it, didn't know about a career set. I knew I wanted to be a daily newspaper reporter, and had an opportunity to do so with a couple of newspapers over about a 6-year period. And having a newspaper go under, so losing my job during that period, and then really re-examining my career path as a journalist. I wanted to see what else I could do. Where do journalism skills take me? And boy, there's a natural alliance with corporate communications and public relations. You're trained to ask become a subject matter expert pretty quickly, get people to trust you with giving you information, a perfect stranger, about something that could be very sensitive. So asking questions, demonstrating interest, and then being able to very quickly pull together all these facts, quotes into a cogent story, and then tell the story. So there's a lot of, if you think about it, in essence, you're a communication expert. You're told you're a journalist. So I had the opportunity while I was doing my master's to also work where I did my graduate work. So my undergraduate degree is from Syracuse University. My master's is from Drew University. And while at Drew, I took a job as public relations manager and started learning the essence of internal as well as external communications, speech writing, the dynamics of constituent relations too, and I loved it. It was just a natural alliance with my interests, with my skills. I'm a people person. There's nothing more than a commercial can immerse you more other than journalism than corporate communications. Mm-hmm. So when I graduated from Drew, I took a new position, left the university, and I went into advertising. I actually worked for the agency, Gray Advertising, in the role of corporate communications. And my career exploded from there. I moved on to General Electric, where I worked in 4 GE businesses over a 8-year period in the role of corporate communications, working at a plant level, then a department level, then a division level, then the headquarters level. Moved on to Duracell, where I became a global corporate communicator, now working across countries and languages, which was fascinating, really. But this one was primarily focused on the internal realm. Mm-hmm. Took another stint. This was at Allied Signal, which is now Honeywell, again, leading corporate communications for the company, doing a lot of executive communications. And my last corporate stint before I started my company in the late 90s was at Public Service, Electric and Gas, and I had everything in there. I was leading a department of 60 people with marketing communications, shareholder communications, as well as external and internal. What I realized is that I really love the internal piece the most. Mm-hmm. And I love the internal piece because during my GE tenure, I also got to work in the realm of change management. Our company was infusing lots of new initiatives, but also downsizing, resizing, constantly evolving itself, and helping people get through change, understand how to become part of it and not be paralyzed by it, became a big role for the communications leaders at a company, at a site or at a division. And I realized that was where my passion most lied. So when I started my own company, I focused really on the human dynamics of communication, the people piece, and with how an organization can really galvanize its people to be both communicative and collaborative.
Yeah, and I think that's around the time I met you. And a lot of what impressed me was that not only were you merging communications and change management, but you were also bringing in sort of the grassroots elements and the Six Sigma thought methodology of really getting people engaged in knowing what their metrics are right on the plant floor. And that was so impressive to me because not many people were thinking that way. And not many people were approaching communications that way within large global or national organizations. And so I always was really impressed by that. And
there's a reason for that, Tracy. And the reason was during my time at GE, my key constituents, my key internal customers were operations leaders, engineers, and finance people, which means they think by numbers and not by the words. And journalists and communicators, we're words people. And yes. It's, no, things are going to get a lot better if you try that. We're going to get people all excited. Show me the money. Show me the data. You need to prove that we can make measurable improvements that we can project, just like we do process improvements, whether it's in, the time to build, first time through, that we have first time quality, or the time to answer a customer request. I mean, we've got to be able to demonstrate that we can make an impact with communication and engagement practice to get people more knowledgeable, more involved, and more excited about what they're doing. So yeah, show me the money.
Yes, it's about the data and what the metrics and are you advancing the ball in the strategy?
And as my leaders quickly told me, what gets measured gets done, and if you can't get it measured, you're wasting my time. So we're not having a conversation right now.
Yeah, so let's pivot a little bit to your Duyle leadership experience, because I also remember when you got pretty pumped up about trying to inspire the next generation. And so talk a little bit about the evolution of that, because I think that's very unique, that you've got this program up and running and you've got metrics around all the people that have gone through the program. So talk about kind of the evolution of that as well.
So helping people be their best, whether it's in a corporate setting or in a life setting. And the life setting became evident to me as I was doing my consulting work, looking at new hires coming into my clients' companies, large companies like a Lockheed Martin or Rolls Royce. I tend to do a large amount of business with large, complex Fortune 500s, and seeing heavily recruited new millennial workers coming in and not knowing how to transition well. Mm-hmm. So that transition's a hard one. Everyone says, well, that transition from high school to college is really hard. But the transition from college into the workplace is one of the most daunting. There's no curriculum. Okay, I'm not going to give you a curriculum, let you know what we're going to be doing on week 1 and week 2. Everything can change. One of my favorite stories is a graduate of my leadership experience, started his new company, got recruited out of college during his second semester senior year, so pumped. And on day 1 of his new company, his company got acquired by another company. And you know what? That wasn't in the game plan. Nobody talked about that through the interview process, wasn't in the game plan. So helping this now huge degree of uncertainty and being able to cross confidently into the role of now young professional from the standpoint of how do I actively communicate with people and not with my head down looking at a screen in my palm. That means forging relationships through communication, multi-generations, being able to take initiative. And this is a lot without being told what to do, because, you don't get the syllabus with the homework every night. And really the art of collaboration and how do I start to work effectively within a team, between a team, and get people to believe that I'm going to be a really great addition to the team, regardless of my age. Because that's a hard one for the young millennial coming in, the young professionals coming in, and that, they're not coming in with the 20 years or 10 years experience, but you have a different set of skills that you can aggressively and confidently lend that can make the team even better. So really helping that young professional that I was seeing graduate with lots of debt, not a strong leadership skill set, not a strong communication skill set, and saying, what can I do? And the doorway to do something was my undergraduate alma mater, Syracuse University, that I had a long established relationship as a donor, happened to have a very good liaisons with a dean and one of the university executives there, and said, I'd like to design a program that helps the transition of these young professionals, well, soon to be young professionals, who are going to work, not going to take a graduate course or a gap year, but they are leaving with a cap and gown, and on Monday or following Monday, they're walking to a workplace and they're getting a badge and life is new. So we did a pilot program back in 2008 with Syracuse. I designed the curriculum, seeded it with customers, clients of mine, colleagues of mine, who all have a passion like me of what can we do to help our next generation leaders. And it was incredibly successful. It resonated because it fit a learning gap and filled a learning gap that was so fundamental for these young people to be able to start using aggressively. I mean, the art of networking, that is so important, yet networking 101 generally isn't on any curriculum anywhere. And the art of building trust in a workplace. Gosh, they don't teach building trust. And business ethics, really important. So, we had a core curriculum, graduated our first class, and they became zealots for us to start to expand the program. And we had more than close to 500 Syracuse University undergraduates either go through our immersion weekend. That's really the key thing. We have an immersion, 3-day immersion weekend, or be part of we do on-demand coaching. We have online learning resources, a portal, an online newsletter. Become part of this, what we call the Duyle Leadership Experience community. And then 3 years ago, I made a personal shift in my life. I moved into the Berkshires as a full-time resident, and I've moved into a community that has a dire need to do more for our young professionals in terms of not just the recruiting, but providing professional development opportunities. So 3 years ago, the Duyle Leadership Experience evolved into a new program where our core customer now became not an undergraduate, but someone who is new to the workplace or under 40. Really, it's really an under 40 young professional who is either getting involved in a first-time job, or maybe they are stuck 5 years into a job, and really helping them again in terms of stepping out of that rut, learning how to get unstuck, and what we call own their career.
Mm-hmm.
Own your career. It's not about sending emails out and answering things online, but it's about building your network. It's about how do you actively grow that personal and professional brand that people just can't get enough of you, and that you can exude it and show it and be real to it. And just all aspects of what in essence are core communication skills, but leadership skills for young professionals. So now, this is now in 2019, this will be our third Duyle Leadership Experience. We call it the Gen Now Retreat, which is our immersion weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But our program now includes monthly open forums that we do on topics of particular resonance with young professionals. For example, this month, our topic is Nonprofits Want You. So a big piece of our curriculum has to do with what are you going to do, not just to help your career and your company, but the community that you're part of. Right. And a lot of most young professionals have no idea that they could be stepping up to a role with a nonprofit board. You don't have to be over 50, highly seasoned, and highly sourced with cash. You have under 30 or under 40, a tremendous skill set, vision, and network that nonprofits desperately need. So we've got a whole program dedicated to what kind of skills are really needed and how do you step up either as a volunteer or a board member. So those kind of programs, as well as our online portal and our newsletter, online learning and coaching, plus that pinnacle Gen Now retreat November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the Berkshires.
Yeah, and I love that you're tracking your results too.
Oh, yeah.
Like what happens when they leave the room, and are they stepping into new opportunities either in their companies or in their communities or outside their companies to new opportunities that may reveal themselves to them once they go through your program. I think that's amazing. So at this point, you don't have to be affiliated with Syracuse University to go through your programs. Is that correct?
Not at all. And in fact, in this last 2018, our leadership, and by the way, again, year-round programming, if you want our newsletter or online learning, just contact me and you're going to share my contact information.
Yes.
I'm going to so I'd be delighted. But if you wanted to take part in that immersion weekend, which is really a transformative experience, connecting you with corporate leaders, well-known thought leaders on a national level, as well as entrepreneurs. The program is open to anyone from anywhere. What we do though is we limit our participation number. So it's an exclusive offering, and there's an online application, and we
Right.
create an opportunity. There are 45 open slots.
Mm-hmm.
People can apply and they're accepted. We have a review committee. They'll be contacted, obviously. And if you are part of this community, that plus very close contact with 10 to 15 of our speakers. And again, CEOs or SVPs or business leaders, entrepreneurs starting their own business, that become resources for you. And I think the cool thing is once you've become part of the community, whether you go through the retreat or whether you just become part of our online community,
Right.
there's the opportunity to reach out to anybody. The network is highly receptive. We have a commitment to help anyone who's part of our community, and goes back to 2008, that we owe each other the opportunity for maybe making an introduction or sharing a really critical read. At our retreat, we do a book swap where everybody comes with their favorite book that they've read this past year, and they swap books. And then 3 months later, they connect with the person whose name was in there, whose book they got, and they talk about, here's what I got out. Was this what you really affected you? So keeping, by the way, that learning continuity. I think, Tracy, one of the big concepts that we really infuse is you got to subscribe to lifelong learning. And you own that one, okay?
Yes.
So every day, take 20 minutes at the start of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. What are you doing to educate yourself? I mean, in my case, it's reading Harvard Business Review online. That's Smart Brief on leadership, which is just, those are 2 online resources that are a must. And then really getting smart on what's going on in the world through NPR Morning Edition or the BBC. So what is it that you do? What's your routine? You go to the gym. Well, what do you do to go to your mind and help yourself grow so that you can make small talk, which opens doors to what? Personal and
opportunities.
Right.
Absolutely. It's opportunities.
That's a little start. Small talk. We teach that too in the retreat and in our programming.
I think it's great. I think that you being in the Berkshires is great too, because you've got a whole lifestyle there that allows you to be engaged with the community, with Tanglewood, which is amazing. If our listeners haven't been there, they need to go. With, just nature is beautiful in the Berkshires. I mean, and the opportunities to do things outside is amazing year round, really. So.
Yeah, and we have a business community that is the Wayfair. The CEO of Wayfair happened to be a Pittsfield resident, went to high school in Pittsfield. And as of this fall, we're going to be having a Wayfair, 300 jobs are coming in for a Wayfair center here. We've got some pharma businesses that have been sprouting up that were once based in the Boston area. Boston's become extremely expensive, and now moving out to the Berkshires where affordability in housing is real, as well as an incredible lifestyle.
Yes. Well, and I think it's interesting too, because you were raised in New York's Hudson Valley, and then I didn't realize that you worked in your family business. So talk a little bit about that, because that had to inspire your entrepreneurship, your interest in journalism, all of that. So talk about that. What was it like growing up?
Yeah, it was a privilege. Both of my parents had their own businesses. So my father happened to be an editor and publisher of weekly newspapers. Okay. And my mother had a commercial printing business. Nice. So I started working my family business on the commercial printing side when I was 8 years old. And there's a number of things that I truly believe have enabled my professional career and my personal career, my personal commitments and this giving back that go back to being an 8-year-old working in a commercial printing business. I learned very quickly that everybody mattered. And my parents made a point of letting me know that the janitor was as important as their highest paid employee to enabling us to have a home, enabling me one day to go to college, and also to having basics that I didn't even think about, like meals and clothing. And so everybody mattered. Everybody mattered. And I truly still believe that it's not about your title. It's about your ability to contribute to the organization, and I believe that to this day. I saw a really strong work ethic, so that's another thing. And there's a good and bad to that. So I have a hard time relaxing my mind, quiet mind. That chatter is always there. I actually swim to hell. I can't do yoga. I'm still thinking about things, but when I swim or row, I'm a competitive rower. I can only focus on one thing in front of me, the line on the bottom of the pool, or the person sitting in front of me in the 3 seat in my boat, and that gets my mind quiet. But I did see a very strong commitment and loyalty that I have developed to anything I've been part of. whether it's, working for GE, whether it's Duyle and Company or the Duyle Leadership Experience. I have tremendous loyalty to the organizations I volunteer to. I do. So this loyalty. And then I think the other thing is just learning that I had to prove that I could do a good job in order to ascend. So my goal was to become a cub reporter. I didn't want to stay on the commercial printing side, but my parents made sure that I had to earn my ability to get ahead. And probably one of my greatest life achievements was when I was 13 and my father said I could start writing obituaries. And I moved out of the printing side into the newspaper side and learned the art of writing an obituary, which really aren't done anymore. But back in that time, newspapers wrote the obituaries of everyday people, not just famous people, but everyday people. So my father helping me understand, you're going to write something that is going to be a testimony to a person that you've never met. And it's going to be one of the most important things to the family of that person. And so here are fundamentals to do it right. So I had some great coaching from two really wonderful parents. They were influence for me. And I had immigrant grandmother who was my other force of life. She had an arranged marriage at 15 in Italy, met her husband the day before, came to America and put two daughters, by working in a factory, put two daughters through college when girls didn't go to college, my mother and my aunt.
Right.
Pretty good role modeling.
Definitely. Well,
Family business. That's one thing I do want to say. When people it kind of gets me irked when I look at resumes, and work experience somehow started when they went to college, maybe an internship or after, and then I found out that they had a lawn service when they were 15 years old, or that they had they were teaching swimming lessons at 14, and realizing, wait a second. These are real jobs with customer-facing roles and a responsibility.
Right.
Don't discard what you did because you were a teenager.
Right.
And if I can give any advice is, gosh, all that stuff matters.
Yes. Definitely. Well, I'm so inspired just talking to you every time I talk to you. And I agree. People need to own their careers, and I believe in lifelong learning, and I believe in training the next generation. And I'm glad you've put this program together, and the impact is being felt, I'm sure, by the businesses where these young people go to work. But so if I were to ask you, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? What would you say that is, and how does that inspire you today?
So there's two brave things. One's personal and one's professional. I have to put different hats on. I think the bravest thing that I've done professionally was start my business.
Yes.
I really did not have an elaborate business plan written out. I was driving an hour and a half one way to my corporate job. And on January 2nd, of 1998, I was thinking really heavily about, God, I am wasting so much time going to work, 3 hours a day in a car. And I really had the privilege of working for some amazing companies. GE and Allied Signal were extraordinary, Duracell. And I'm like, you know what? What's my next act? And my next act had to be me. Mm-hmm. And I literally drove to work that day. I called my husband. I said, I'm going to resign today. I'm going to turn in my company car. They may probably ask me to stay a couple days, but if I don't do it now, it's not going to happen. I feel it in my stomach, and I got to give this a try. And I resigned. And again, didn't have the game plan, had the gut, had the courage, and had the tremendous experience that I knew, that passion of helping people work more effectively within an organization that I did at GE and Allied. I can do that for a lot of companies. And I love, if you saw the portfolio that I have, before people started moving around in jobs, I was moving around different companies. I loved learning different companies.
Yes.
So I could get that and then focus on what I know well. And then the most important thing, that's 1 and 2. Number 3 is I had built an amazing network of leaders through staying in touch with my GE leaders or Duracell, who then had gone out and maybe become COOs or CEOs of other companies.
Correct.
Hey, remember me, Linda? Of course you remember. And what do how can I help you in some of the challenges that you are facing? And I've been reading about your company, and I think that we can go back, we work together, and we can try this, this, and this. So that was, again, people talking about, I had the game plan and all that. I didn't. I had the gut, and it was now or never. And you know what? And I didn't think about failing, and I didn't want to get trapped in that. I've seen failure happen. It's been part of my life. But I faced it with, I got a really good thing going in what I've learned in life, and I can make it happen. So from a professional standpoint, boy, it was starting my own business. And by the way, as a female, most of my clients were men. I tended to do a lot in the area of aerospace and high tech. And so it was being able to confidently go in as a businesswoman and be able to sell the talent of my team that I eventually built and our expertise and our services and play ball with them. And that was a big thing too. So brave, yeah. The other brave thing is I made a decision back in, 2010. My mother suffered a brain hemorrhage. I had an incredibly healthy, vivacious mother who was traveling all over the world, had retired and sold her business, and just a real big role model, as I alluded to before. And I was the only living family member, and knew that I had to make a lifestyle change. My mother survived, and her lifestyle changed where she needed to have care, 24/7 care. And I still am running a business, and I'm not geographically near where my mother was. So I needed to make serious adjustments in my professional life to enable me to travel, at least for a long weekend, back to where my mother was, provide care for her, and then become an HR manager and care team force supporter to a group of 7 individuals that I literally hired and trained and helped them to become caregivers for my mom when I wasn't there. It was a very brave thing because everyone said, "What are you doing? I mean, you have no time for you. You're traveling for your business. You're spending all your time on weekends taking care of your mother and all." And it was, but this is what I have to do right now. And I know it's the right thing to do. And I never regretted it for the 8 years that I did it. It was a huge lifestyle change. My husband was a big supporter, and that was important. But that took guts because I really loved what I was doing in my active consulting and with my team. But I had to really curtail both my role and the size of my team to make all that happen.
Yeah, well, I think when things like that happen in life, you realize what's really important, and you only get one mother, and
Right.
She deserved your time and attention. And you knew it wasn't going to be forever, and you did what you needed to do. And so I commend you for starting your business, because I think it's a phenomenal story. And I agree, back in 1998, 99, when you were out there pitching yourself to these CEOs and CFOs in aerospace and defense as a woman, and you're selling them on kind of soft services in their mind. You're not selling them engineering support. That took a tremendous amount of guts. But you know what? You believed in yourself, and you knew you had those strong relationships, and you knew you could do the work, right? So that, I think, was really in your favor, and you weren't going to fail. And I think it's amazing that you made the decision, as tough as it was, to be there for your mom and do good by her. So,
and by the way, I learned an enormous amount in my role as a caregiver, not a daughter, now wearing a new hat of caregiver.
Yes.
That I look back and I say, I thank God that I had the opportunity to learn a whole new, I became, smart on a lot to do with dementia and the impact and brain trauma, and being able to help other people now who are facing a situation like that with a parent or a child, I think has become, I now, I'm a Eucharistic minister in my local hospital because of that.
Yes. So, well, Linda, I just thank you so much for being on the show. I am definitely going to get all the links to all of your contacts, your program, your retreat, how people can get in touch with you, where they can find you on the internet, because I'm sure there's going to be people that are listening. They're going to want to apply and hopefully get one of those 45 spots. And they're going to want to sign up for your newsletters. They may want to be buying some of these online resources, which I think is phenomenal. And I love that you're doing a 3-day immersion and that you've added in the nonprofit piece. I mean, I just think that you've put something together that's really special for a generation that desperately needs it, and that this is not taught in school. This is not something you're going to get handed to by your employer either. It's kind of sink or swim, and so they need that net of resources and the network that you've provided as well with these speakers and who's in your community already, and the fact that you got 500 other alumni they're going to be willing to lend a hand to people that join the community. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I'm just so proud of you. I just think back to, we went to the Giants game in San Francisco, and I just immediately fell in love with you because I was like, yes, she loves baseball just like I do. It was a great game. I had so much fun. You gave a great talk at the conference, but what was more fun was hanging out with you and Roger at the Giant Stadium. That was just amazing. I'll never forget it.
Well, I love that you've evolved yourself into doing this. And, this wasn't on your radar screen at all. And so you have the ability through your network, which is vast and constantly growing, to be able to bring different perspectives. And again, this becomes a lot, by the way, they can add this. What do you do every day for 20 minutes? Do you listen to a piece of your podcast, Tracy? Because this is a learning resource too.
Completely.
And I think that one of the things, and just kind of one last comment, I hear a lot of young professionals. Actually, I hear just a lot of people in the workplace say, ooh, I'm stuck. Okay, I'm stuck. So, stuck is one of these things. You get these impatient thoughts and everything's better somewhere else than where you are. And so what you really have to do and look at is, well, what am I doing to actively get myself unstuck? Or am I just saying my boss stinks? This company is just squeezing us or doing. So what can I actively do? And are there opportunities to grow in another department? Or can I offer to be part of a team or a volunteer service that my company does in our community? But maybe it's not within your company. But before you start blaming everything else, I think there's this let's look inside and see what we can do. And through resources like this, just listening to somebody else, whether it's my perspective or one of your other guests, who knows? It can help people get unstuck. And that's mentally as well as physically. Yes. I'm a big believer, by the way, about staying constantly fit. I work out every single day. And that's another thing that I see when people get into inertia physically, their career starts to go into inertia and their professional dynamics start to go into inertia. You can meet great people in a gym.
Yes. Amen. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and all that you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you when I come to the Berkshires.
You're coming soon to the Berkshires. We're going to have a great time. And thanks to all your listeners for staying tuned. And by all means, as Tracy said, do not hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you.
You too.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. as much as I did creating it. Each show is produced with you, the listener, in mind, as you look for inspiration and motivation from other brave souls as you pursue your desires. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please leave me a review on iTunes. I read every one. And check out my website, tracym.com, for more free resources. You can also join my list and sign up for my newsletter right from the homepage. Until next time, stay strong, believe in your dreams, and go do something brave.
We appreciate you joining us for this episode of Brave Girls with Tracy M. and hope that you enjoyed the show. For more information about today's episode, as well as additional free resources to help you achieve greatness in your life, visit tracym.com and sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, dream big, believe in yourself, and let your brilliance shine as only you can do.